Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video and a warm welcome to, currently we have one live viewer. Um, so to begin, what I'm learning, what I've learned, or it's what I've learned and now I'm working on applying in my life is before anything and everything to ask God or to ask a helper that you trust, such as Bruno, such as Christ, for help. Whether you're going to do an errand, whether you're studying a new language, whether you're about to go, whether I'm about to, go have a conversation, if I'm nervous about something, if I'm excited about something, you can always ask for help. I love, so there's different people on this channel with different beliefs, and everyone is welcome here. I have a very strong connection with Bruno, so I just ask Bruno for help with everything and anything. And in some moments I ask Jesus, some moments I ask God, some moments I ask the energy itself. Um, I'm no great sage, but what I can say from my experience is it's important that it obviously that what we ask, that we have trust in it, and that it obviously be something good. and so that's how I'd like to start this off, is to just ask, dear God, dear Bruno, please guide this time together, guide this video, and please help us to take in the divine, vital life force. It's possible to take it in. We start out taking it in while we're sitting with our eyes closed. It's also possible to do it while walking. It's also possible to do it while talking. So please, God, please, Bruno, help us to take in this, to tune in. The German word Bruno used, einstellen, it does mean to tune in, but it has about 11 different meanings. And one of them is attune, A-T-T-U-N-E. It's not a word we use so much in English anymore, which is sad. It's a very precious word. For example, when a mother attunes to her child, she gives her full attention and senses what does the child need. So if we attune ourselves to God, obviously we don't need to ask what does God need, but if we really attune, give our full attention to the divine, to experiencing connection with God, and to receiving the divine energy, I think that's a very, very beautiful translation of the word Einstellen, understanding of what Bruno was calling us to. The other thing is, Einstellen also means to position properly. Now that's very interesting if you think about it, because what I've come to understand from Bruno Groening's teachings is that what is natural is for us to be connected to God. It's actually unnatural. So if you think of it as a metaphor, like right now I'm leaning to the side, well, imagine for the moment that God is like a waterfall, just constantly, or God's love is like a waterfall constantly pouring down, and that we're meant to receive it in this sort of upright, position. And this is partially literal and partially a metaphor. But now just imagine leaning to the side, that reception of that energy. It's not really natural. And in the same way, it's not natural for us to be disconnected from God. It's not natural for us to not breathe. And it's not natural for us to be disconnected from God. So let's just take a short moment and really align. That's another meaning of Einstellen, to align. Let's align ourselves. Align with the divine. That's a good bumper sticker. as if we are a satellite dish. Einstein also means to position. So if we're a satellite dish, let's position ourselves. Not just physically, though that's a part of it, that sure helps, but a huge part of this positioning is an internal focusing, which is another meaning of Einstein, to focus. Bruno Groening said to Einstein properly, which I understand to mean focus, align, tune in, attune yourself properly. And I think he also, I'll have to look it up, I think he said to do it precisely. So let's take a minute and just really take all this to heart, aligning ourselves with God, tuning into God, focusing on God, receiving the divine transmission. So, the word natural is very interesting. It's thrown around a lot today, and Bruno Groening almost used the word natural as interchangeable with divine. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Um, we think of natural as just pertaining, for example, to plants or food that hasn't been modified or treated with chemicals. And certainly there's truth to that. However, Bruno Groening, uh, not to my knowledge, he never defined it, but the way he used natural, he spoke of it as if a natural way of life. Now, of course, this has to do with eating food that is, unmodified or not covered in chemicals. Yes, of course. And what he spoke of as natural also entailed being connected to the divine, being in contact with what he called our natural human instinct, this capacity to know what's good and what's not good, and to just move towards the good, and ultimately to be free of what he called evil. He didn't really define evil, but he did speak of how evil disconnects us from God, and um, and that evil, in essence, is not natural, not in the truest sense of the word. And for us as human beings, it's not natural for our bodies to be filled with various kinds of evil. And some of the ways he did define evil is anger, fear, illness, distress of any kind. So we as human beings kind of take it for granted. Oh, yes, I'm gonna get sick sometime. Like, oh, you know, you'll hear people say, "Oh, it's natural to be afraid." Well, according to the teachings of Bruno Groening, it's actually habitual. And I think of a very beautiful quote by the great Indian saint Gandhi, who said it's very dangerous to confuse um, what's natural with what's habitual. Because Gandhi went around preaching nonviolence, and people would say violence is natural. And Gandhi pointed out that violence is, uh, and in his definition of violence, was the desire to harm someone, literally having ill will towards someone else. That was his definition of violence. And he said, no, actually, that's habitual. That's a learned, that's not natural. So let's sit for a moment. Oops, my battery is running low. We'll see how much longer this broadcast lasts. And let's see. Oh, 24 minutes. We can talk about a lot in 24 minutes. But we'll see how long the computer keeps going. Um, so let's just sit for a moment and really ask ourselves, what does the word natural mean to me? Could this guy, Bruno Groening, be right that to be happy, healthy, connected to God, guided by God, that's what's natural? So let's sit and receive and take in this energy, noticing what you feel. Taking in this goodness. So I'm very inspired. Recently, someone who I don't know, or who I'm getting to know, reached out to me from this channel and said, "I want to learn this. This is important," and it really, really touched me deeply. and and so it just has me thinking. I'm constantly, Bruno said a lot, but mostly what he said is kind of the same thing over and over in different ways. And so, what's the bottom line of what Bruno Groening taught? That's what I always like to ask myself. Well, there's different ways to say it, and one way to say it is this. I'll have to paraphrase, but Bruno Groening in essence said, freeing, and this is almost an exact quote, freeing the soul, dear friends, from, I'll have to paraphrase, the claws of Satan, from Satan's grasp. That's what this work is really all about. So according to Bruno, and he's not alone in this, and you can even find hints of this in the Bible. In fact, I think verse 26 from the very beginning points out that human beings are divine in a mysterious way, that we are like that which made us. Bruno Groening said it very point blank. He said the human being is and remains divine. The human soul cannot be corrupted. It can merely be covered over. The goodness, the divinity cannot be corrupted. It can literally be covered over. And when it's covered over, the human being can, in essence, be kidnapped by the evil. Bruno said, once you take in evil, not take it into your soul, but take it into your body, then you literally are forced to serve evil. Bruno was adamant that a human being never does evil. It's always the evil acting through the human being. So, if we really take this to heart, that inside each and every one of us, inside each human being, there is a spark of God, that there is something pure, that there is something untaintably sacred, then we can see how important, why Bruno Groening would say, that's what this is all about, freeing that. I think he said, freeing the purely divine soul from the clutches of Satan. That's what this is all about, dear friends. So we can see, many people describe Bruno Groening as a healer, but Bruno Groening said physical healing was only 10% of his work. Now that's not to downplay how amazing a physical healing is, but let's not upplay. The important thing is that is in this teaching work. This teaching is about seeking freedom from everything not good. All you need to do, any one of us who is honest, and we all strive to be honest, reflect on our lives, we can look at, we've made 100,000 plus bad decisions. Some of them very bad, some of them very big. We all have bad habits. We all take in negative thoughts. The goal here is not just to have a healthy body, which is wonderful, which is important. The goal here is to be free of all of that and to strive towards that. I'm not anticipating, I'm open to it, but I'm not anticipating that in this lifetime I'm going to be free of all of it. It would be great. I'm open to it, but to strive towards that. And paradoxically, the recognition that I cannot free myself from evil. That yes, I'm striving, but what am I striving to do? I'm striving to receive the divine signal. I'm striving to make contact with that which is stronger than evil, which can free me from evil. Bruno Groening said, we cannot, the German word can be translated as exalt or raise ourselves up. He said, we cannot exalt ourselves. It's an interesting word. We don't use that one in English very much anymore. Only God can do that. Bruno Groening said, only God can help. What does that mean? It doesn't mean, if someone has a flat tire, I can ask you to help me with my flat tire, and that's kind and good and helpful. And in terms of the ultimate goal of being freed from evil, that can only come about through God. This is what Bruno taught, and this is my utter conviction that this is exactly what Christ taught. So first of all, thanks for saying hi, forever loving everything. Very warm welcome, and warm welcome to everyone else who's joining in. And let's close with a minute of taking in this divine energy and asking, pleading for mercy. And what is mercy? The German word that Bruno used, Gnade, it means mercy, forgiveness, pardon, clemency. I spoke with someone who's fluent in German, and she said it's as if you'd been convicted of a crime, and then the judge decides to not fulfill the sentence, relief of a debt. So let's ask for, however you think of it, forgiveness, mercy, clemency, pardon. Grace. Yes. And this is the largest theological argument in Christianity from almost not quite from the, I don't know when this argument got hot, but at a certain point, this argument between grace and effort. And it's very split now. Most camps say it's only grace or it's only effort. Whereas Bruno Groening, and I think anyone who really reads the Bible without an agenda will see that Christ very specifically told people to strive for the good, and is very specifically communicated. Well, I don't know how specifically communicated it is in the Bible, but our need for grace. Bruno Groening said it very clearly. If you want to experience the divine, you must strive for it. Simultaneously, he said only God can help. Grace and effort. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And let's have a beautiful day of asking for help and seeking to make progress on this path. Once again, thanks for saying hi, forever loving everything. Thank you to William for joining in by phone, and to everyone else who joined in. Much gratitude. All right, friends.